I am Mathew Boudreaux, pronouns they, them. I consider myself a practicing polycraftual, which means I want to do all of the crafts in my lifetime, and I'm really trying for that. I love color and saturation and breaking boundaries with sewing and crafting, not necessarily doing what's already been done, but manifesting things that come into my head and seeing if I can actually put them together. And that's who I am. When I decided to pull away from designing for manufacturers, it was just a natural progression. And I was at that time approached by Spoonflower to work for Craft Friday. It was 2 years ago, and that was how I first got in touch. Spoonflower is amazing. Like, it's literally a place where anything that you have in your head, from if you want to start at the inception of designing the fabric in itself to the creation of the product, like, that's so special for someone with my kind of polycraftual brain that wants to learn about all of the facets of creation. So the more that I've learned about it, the more I just fall in love, because the possibilities truly are endless with Spoonflower. The Gradient Rainbow, that was the first collection of mine that I put out, just because I always dreamed of having a fabric collection, since I do fabric weaving a lot, to where instead of buying a whole bunch of different fabrics and then cutting them up and having a lot extra, I could create these stripes of strips that I wanted to then cut out, prepare, and then weave together. And so all of those are for that. So that's what the intent of that was. But now it's I've printed them on curtains. I printed that one on quilt backs. I've cut it up and used it in quilt designs. And that's gonna be really cool, because I know that, one, the colors I chose and the pigments are right. I come correct when it comes to that. And then, rainbows are beautiful, because it just shows how much difference there can be in one place and still create beauty if they all learn to work with each other. So it's a deeper, greater thing with how it should be in society. And then the Say Trans print, the Say Gay. Wow. I don't know that I would have been able to print that with the manufacturer. And it's such an important message, especially with all of the anti-LGBT and anti-trans rhetoric and legislation that's out there. People with a platform need to be able to say, no, that's wrong. Say those things. We need to hear them, because it literally saves lives when we do. So to see something like Spoonflower, who I revere, to take the time that we have together to print that one, that's a powerful message in itself for me as a non-binary human, that I'm seen and I'm respected, which I don't get a lot of. So that's pretty rad. A lot of 2022, I was experiencing CPTSD, dissociation, where Mathew was not in the building, essentially. And as a result of not being in the building, I lost my ability to craft and to create. And that was pretty difficult, since that was my main source of getting me back to center. And I was an ambassador, so I had obligations of things to do, and I couldn't do that. So I went down a spiral of what do I do? What do I do? And y'all were so generous allowing me to share that I'd been actually ordering pre-made, made-to-order home decor items with the designs that I wanted to sew with but couldn't, and seeing ready-made items show up in my house in those fabrics allowed me to feel like I was making them, and it allowed me to eventually build up the confidence to create again and to start making. And I don't know that that could have happened any other way at any other place. And the 1,000 comments print, I reached out asking people in my community. It was on TikTok where I did it, asking everyone, if you are a queer human yourself or know of someone who's queer, what would you like to hear in support? What kind of messages do you need to hear that either would have made you feel seen and valid whenever you did come out or were queer youth, or are one now? I was flooded with thousands of affirming comments from so many members of the community. I didn't quite know what I was gonna do with it at that point, but in this one print, I used all of the comments. I edited it into a design to where all of those 1,000 comments are in one fabric design. And if you were to buy 1 yard of that, you get all 1,000 comments. And so I used that print, which was a black and white print, and put it on a made to order throw blanket. So it's like when I'm feeling down, I like look at it and I just read some of the comments as like I'm snuggling on it. And it's really powerful to be able to read that there's so much love and affirmation out there. Really, there really is. It's just not given the volume that a lot of the other things are given out there. So of all the home decor ones, that one just hits home. That one I'll have when I'm 80. Being a Spoonflower Ambassador allows me to feel valued in a space where there's honestly been a lot of exploitation with makers. An expectation to create just for product or just for exposure that really doesn't lead to anything. I'm valued monetarily, which we all should be, but it's been uninhibited in what I'm allowed to do and create. There's been no barriers or boundaries. There's never a boundary when it comes to how I'm gonna show up, what part of myself I need to compartmentalize in order to be palatable to an audience. I get to just be myself. Like flaws and all of my intricacies and all of my queerness and neurodivergence. It's so amazing. And there just needs to be a lot more of that. So that's how it's felt for me as an ambassador and as a consumer of Spoonflower. That y'all appreciate me and all of me. And that's powerful. And more people need to know about that. I was always looking for true inclusion and diversity, and to have a non-performative, inclusive ambassadorship, which is how I view Spoonflower. The first meeting when I saw everyone, so many different communities in itself were represented by this group of makers and designers in the ambassadorship, where people were empowered to be themselves, not empowered to be a palatable version to those that wish them not to be in existence. That we just get to be ourselves, each of us, whatever we represent. Everyone needs to look to Spoonflower as a model of what real inclusion looks like, because that's what I see. And I'm fierce and nitpicky when it comes to that, and I'm not gonna give my stamp of approval unless it's authentic, because there's a lot of performative stuff. And other companies and brands I've ambassadored for or worked with, they expected me to show up and do the work for them. Here, I feel like y'all have done the work for me to already feel comfortable. So instead of me feeling like I have to educate or represent how to value me, I just get to make and create, right? So that aspect of the community, wow, the overall community of designers and makers when you get on there, it's just pure inspiration. I've gotten on there and just like clicked through for hours just to look at all the pretty designs, not even like intending to make anything with it. But to know that each one of those person is someone who has opted into this community, knowing that you're gonna get judged, knowing that someone's gonna be critical, but knowing that everyone in that community doesn't judge, doesn't do that. We're not there for that. We're there to support each other. That's what a community at large should be like. A bunch of different people, regardless of where your background is, just wanting to elevate without judgment. It's so simple and easy, and it's there at Spoonflower.